Okay, welcome back. I'm on page 19 of the textbook, and we're going to be introduced to 6 more of these influential leaders. Again, your book does not show these pictures. They're in your little bag for this unit, and we will eventually get to those. But for now, I just want to fill in the information in these boxes. So the first one on this page is one of the most famous of all. This is Mr. William Penn. And William Penn was born a little later, 1644, and he died in 1718. And if you look at his name, can you tell me which colony he founded? William Penn founded Pennsylvania. And if you had to guess, why do you think he started Pennsylvania? If you guessed religious freedom, you guessed correctly. William Penn disagreed with the established religion, so he started a new colony for yet another religious freedom issue. Closely related to William Penn is Peter Minut. Peter Minut, 1580 to 1638. And I told you he's related to William Penn in that Peter Minut founded Delaware. But Delaware, that land was originally part of Pennsylvania. So originally, Pennsylvania just got bigger. Peter Minut eventually founded the colony of Delaware. Okay, John Smith. This fella is famous. Captain John Smith. I have never read American history that I didn't read about Captain Smith. 1580 to 1631. So he didn't live a very long time. What is that? 51 years. He was a young fellow when he passed away. But did he ever impact our history? He founded the first permanent colony, which was Jamestown, Virginia. The colonists came over. It was hard. They had a hard time surviving. So colonies would start up, but they didn't last very long sometimes. One colony just disappeared completely. The lost colony at Roanoke, they just were gone. Nobody knows what happened to them. That was before Jamestown. Jamestown is the first settled colony. So if someone were to ask you what was the first English settlement in the United States, I would answer Jamestown. It was the first one that survived in the New World. And let me go ahead and tell you about, if you capitalize New World, that is referring to the United States, to this area in North America. Okay, the next one is another pretty popular fella, if I could spell it correctly. It is Cecil Calvert. Cecil Calvert is 1605 to 1675. And Cecil Calvert founded Maryland. For a very specific reason. Calvert's area gave religious freedom for Catholics. So if you were a Catholic in those days, you could move to this colony and practice your faith without persecution. The two main religions are Protestant and Catholic at that time. So if you were a Catholic in England in those days, life could be pretty hard. So you could come to Maryland and practice your Catholic faith freely. Okay, the next one is related to a group of people. They are called the Lord Proprietors. Lord Proprietors. Lord Proprietors. And this is going, because we're talking about a group of people, we're just talking about this 100 years of 1600 to 1700. And here's how this worked. There were 8 of these men who are the Lord Proprietors. King Charles I gave them a charter. And a charter was basically a document that said, you have my permission as king to go to this new world with this charter, and the charter gives you the right to set up a colony. And the colony that we're talking about here was the Carolina colony, which would loosely include North and South. So the Carolinas, North and South Carolina, came to be because of this group of 8 Lord Proprietors. There's not one individual associated with the Carolinas. Okay, the last one is Mr. James Oglethorpe. And you may have already guessed his colony. He was born much later than these other folks, 1796 to 1785. In 1732, King George the Second, wrong George. You'll learn about King George III later. Gave Georgia, or the land, to Mr. Oglethorpe. Oglethorpe was an English army officer. So he was in the Army of England. And he was not just a foot soldier, he was an officer. And he was also a lawmaker. So his primary focus was not religious freedom. He was here for a different reason than most of the colonists and their founders. Alrighty guys, that finishes up everything we needed to do for our leaders. We will come back to them and add their pictures in there as well very soon. So I will see you in the next video.